Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host, Sean Gannon, alongside my partner, Jack McNicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. If you have the chance, go check out our website, justsayingfootball.com. Follow us on Instagram at JustSaying, for article and video updates. And don't forget to check us out and get us in your ears at Just Saying Football on Spotify. All right, buddy. Huge comeback from the Giants last week, which was great. Not so great one for the Vikings. We're in week 3, Sunday Superflex.
Yeah.
You want to kick it off with the AFC South matchup and our blowouts?
Yeah,
we have the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
Going to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. They're favored in this one, Jacksonville, by -9.5. Over under here at 44. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, my bad. I had to take a second there because I saw that 9.5, and I'm like, oh, man, we are starting off with a good blowout. And we saw Jacksonville last week be pretty underwhelming against the Chiefs, so I got to be wondering, why is it so big against a divisional opponent? But the Texans, despite C.J. Stroud looking better than I thought he was going to, the offensive line, Nico Collins, it's not really clicking for me where I think that they're going to be a threat to Jacksonville yet for the division. But there's going to be a huge test going on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm right in that same camp with you, and also like Dameon Pierce is not having the season that people were hoping for or expected. Despite Trevor Lawrence being 0-3 versus the Texans until last year, I expect him to get his next win against them this week. I think that Jacksonville is going to keep the ball rolling. Despite their loss last week to Kansas City, the defense played well. The offense just needed to get it going. And what a better team to get back on track than the Houston Texans coming to your home game. You know?
That's a matchup. That's a get-right matchup
It's a huge get-right matchup. All right, let's keep this moving when the Buffalo Bills make their way to Washington to take on the Commanders. Buffalo's favored in this one by -6.5. Over in here, 44.5. Sam Howell, 2 weeks, 2 comebacks. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like Ron Rivera has really figured it out on, what they've been needing to do, which is just use all those first-round picks on the defensive line to destroy people. Right now, they are 10 sacks or two games. Right now, that's the best in the NFL. And, Brian Robinson, he's getting fed. Antonio Gibson, like I said last week, we thought it was going to be a committee, but, Brian Robinson's getting 6th most touches in the NFL. I'm interested to see how they match up against a team like the Bills, who we're both pretty high on, and we both think will be pretty competitive this year. Do you think, what are you thinking about this?
I'm going with Buffalo for sure. I just think that the Bills are like one of the best teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
And they know that, so they got to prove it week in and week out. They, Josh Allen has a weird thing, mental hiccup with the Jets always. I do think, though, that the Washington's way to win this game is through that defense, like you're saying. If you disrupt Josh Allen, you'll let him get the ball to Stephon Diggs. You'll let them run the ball comfortably with James Cook. Like, they're starting to get more and more. I think that will make them one-dimensional and allow you to then take over. He'll start to make those mistakes as he tries to put everything on himself. So there's a route here for Washington to win. I just think that the matchup's going to be a little bit tough. And this will be a big opponent for Sam Howell.
What are you thinking about that 44.5? We've both seen these teams kind of be over.
Yeah, I think you can comfortably hit that. The Commanders have surprisingly scored here and there, and the comebacks are
imminent.
Yeah, and they make you feel hopeful if you're hitting the over on something.
It's interesting. I did not have them going 2-0. The last 2 games, I got to give my flowers to Sam Howell. This team and Ron Rivera, they're looking great. What about Stephon Diggs right now? 17 catches. Do you think that he can get over 100 yards against this defense?
I can get over 100 yards, absolutely.
I like that.
Assuming that the pass rush isn't too much on Josh Allen, I think for sure. All right, let's keep it moving. So the Indianapolis Colts making their way to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Baltimore's favored in this one by -8, over under here of 44.5. Some injury news, obviously, at the moment. Anthony Richardson is in concussion protocol. He's not currently going to be in the game. This could change leading up to the game. Just keep that in mind if you're listening to this right now. This can change. What are your thoughts about this one? Baltimore's won the last 4 out of 5 matchups for Cindy.
Yeah, so, it seems like, Lamar is just clicking and being worth pretty much every penny that he was paid to run this offense, during the offseason. Obviously, they lost J.K. Dobbins week 1, but they were able to kind of bounce back last week. Maybe that was a little bit of a formula of them playing the Texans and a Bengals team that kind of sucks right now. But the Colts, Anthony Richardson, me and you were watching the game together, we were like, he just looks great. Like, he knows what he's doing. And I think the The interesting thing here is Indianapolis. Obviously, they've had such a tidal wave, and you don't expect Richardson here. I would have loved to see these offenses, especially if Jonathan Taylor was playing this week. I do like the Ravens, and I do like them by 8. I don't think Gardner Minshew. I love him. I love his story. He's the man. But this week in Baltimore, that is not an easy place to play.
No, not at all. And again, I said it last week, and I'll say it again. Anthony Richardson, if you're in a league and you're the Joe Burrow owner right now, Richardson might be out there. He still might be on the waiver wire. I would pick him up. It's a good stash, I'm telling you. All right, let's keep this moving along. So the Denver Broncos making their way to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Miami's favored here by -6.5. Over on here of 48. A lot of points expected. How are you feeling about this one? Because we have a new defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, and former head coach of the Denver Broncos.
I was going to say, we usually talk about these teams and how they have both good offensive weapons, but they have defenses that can beat you almost any game of the week. Vic Fangio is a big reason why Miami gets a big boost there. Last week, obviously not the way Denver wanted it to go. Hail Mary, which is awesome. Who doesn't love a good Hail Mary? But then you got this 2-point conversion that's bobbling, and there's a pass interference call on Cortland Sutton. He doesn't get the call that he wants, and that costs him the game. Obviously, Tua right now is unstoppable. Like, he is unstoppable.
His entire offense is unstoppable. And it's a little bit unfair for the rest of the league. They're also running the ball a lot. Raheem Mostert's been out there for a ton of carries, 28 carries, 158 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I mean, I think he's currently leading all running backs in touchdowns with 3. Not many are going to the running backs right now, but it's going to happen in time. Some injury news, though. Jalen Waddle also in concussion protocol. Again, don't know if he's going to be in the game. Expectations right now, he's not. He's still in the mix, of concussion protocol. So expect him to be out, change your lineups, things like that. Mm-hmm. I'm still going Miami in this one, even if Waddle's out. I trust what Mike Daniels can do with this team.
Yep.
They're finally back at home. I just think that the way that Denver has played has not given me a ton of confidence to say that they're going to be a team to compete still, and also. Everything I've said in the offseason already just feels so wrong about Sean Payton righting the wrong of the Denver Broncos ships.
Hey, look, he got both of us, buddy. We're sitting here watching, and we're just saying, what is in the water in Denver when these guys go out and play? It's like they literally they have the tools. They have the keys. They have all the players that you could want to compete. They haven't even had to go up against one of their tough divisional matchups yet, and now we're looking at this as – you got Tyreek Hill coming to town, and he had a 200-yard game week 1. And then, obviously, he kind of underwhelmed last week during the Patriots game, but they were really running the ball, and they were up. They didn't really have that need. I mean, I have to wonder, against Pat Surtain, does Tyreek Hill, without Jalen Waddle on the other side, can he get 100 yards this week?
I'll put him on the under on 100. The Denver Broncos defense is solid, and they scheme pretty well. So I'll say the under on 100, but I think he can get a touchdown. Like, I think his line might end up being like 876 and 1.
I mean,
that's not a bad day. Yeah. It's not the day that you want if you're Tyreek Hill, because any given day he can go off for 250 yards.
He's incredible.
But that's nothing to complain about, and I think that will force Tua also to get everybody else involved, and I think we'll still see a healthy run game from Miami.
Yeah, they definitely need to get everybody else involved. Smythe, I know a lot of people were talking about as a good tight end streamer, but I do worry about this offense of the Broncos. They've already lost Dulcich. Judy's banged up. Cortland Sutton is just getting double teamed. He's not really a guy that kind of overcomes that. But he obviously was the guy they went to in that big situation. This is going to be a better game than we expect, but still, at the end of the day, I think Miami, they could just run away like they did last week with it.
Yep, I agree. All right, let's keep this moving. We have the Dallas Cowboys making their way to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Dallas is favored in this one by the largest spread, or second largest spread of the week, by -12. Over under here of 43.5. I know we're both going to lock in Dallas. The Cardinals, despite going up on the Giants last week, just couldn't hold them off. And no offense to your Giants, but the Cowboys are playing better football right now. And I don't think that Arizona is going to go up easily on Dallas, and I don't think that they'll then allow a comeback to happen. I think they're just going to get blown out.
Yeah, I think this is a simple one. Yeah, this is 12 points, and that's just something. Me and Sean were talking before the show. in the last about 225 games that have been spread out at this length, it's about an 89% hit on teams that are 12 points. And the reason for it is it's hard to score 2 extra touchdowns in the NFL. Dallas has had no problem with that the last 2 weeks. Just go ahead and take them.
That stat line is a perfect segue into our next game, which is the largest spread of the weekend, when the Chicago Bears make their way to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Kansas City's favoring this by minus 12.5. Over-under here of 47.5. They got a win last week, Kansas City, against Jacksonville. That was mainly done by their defense.
Yeah, we don't really get to talk too much about their defense right now. The Chicago's defense is right now one of the worst, allowing over 32 points a game. That should really help Kansas City open back up with a good defensive matchup. But Kansas City's defense is the third best in scoring right now. Not what Mr. Justin Fields would really want when he's walking into Arrowhead.
No, absolutely not. I think he's going to be running a lot, and that's where he's going to be getting most of his potential touchdowns for this offense. Maybe you hope to see DJ Moore kind of get more involved in this. It happened a little bit in week 2.
Yeah.
Let's see if Eberflus can dial up the passing just a little bit better, but this will be a tough one. I'll hit that spread as well, and I like the over on this one. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so let's keep this moving. So we have a lot of meh games. This week was a tough one for matchups, guys, in week 3. We have the Tennessee Titans make their way to Cleveland to take on the Browns. Cleveland's favoring this by minus 3, over under here of 39.5. Obviously, huge news on Monday Night Football. Nick Chubb went down. He is out for the season with a gruesome knee injury. If you haven't seen the video, you definitely don't need to. Yeah. It's a brutal one. They just brought back Kareem Hunt. What are your thoughts about this game? Tennessee OT winner against Los Angeles last week as well.
Yeah, walking into this game and coming out of it, the Browns have right now the best rushing offense in the NFL, and that was a big part because they were giving it to Nick Chubb, and they were making sure that Nick Chubb and kind of ran this backfield, got like 100% of the carries. So now they're going to be turning into Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt. On the other side, who's getting the ball. Derrick Henry in Tennessee got his first touchdown last week, but they don't have that stability right now on the Browns. You don't have that you look at the end of the game last week. We just see Deshaun Watson having to take the game into his own hands, and he couldn't do it because they knew that they were going to be passing a lot, and the Steelers just took advantage of that. Tennessee can do the same. Tennessee has some great pass rushers. They can really take time away from a team like Cleveland, and it's going to be on the Tennessee defense to make them make mistakes, just like we saw the Steelers do.
Yeah, the Cleveland Browns defense has been playing really well for the first 2, and they're going to have to play even better as the weeks continue now with Nick Chubb out.
Yeah.
You got to see more from Deshaun Watson. He has to step up big for this team as the season continues. I'm going with Tennessee. I think that there's a route for them to win it here. Mike Vrabel's a great coach, schemes really well, and this offense surprised a Chargers team that we both thought were going to win a game last week.
Yeah, we did not expect that. I like that as well. The Titans team, it may not be pretty how they're getting it done. They were close in New Orleans, but they are also they were winners from last week. I see them doing it this week. No reason they can't. I think that this is a open and shut case. The Browns, I went in last week with Chubb thinking that they were going to be a potential playoff threat. I do not think that going into this week.
Yeah, all right, let's keep this moving along. We have the Atlanta Falcons making their way to Detroit to take on the Lions. Detroit favoring this by minus 3, over under here of 46. Top 2 running backs selected in this in the past draft face up against one another. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, two rookie running backs. It's always a highlighted matchup. 2 teams, honestly, that in the NFC are kind of surprising everyone right now. We really didn't expect Detroit to kind of come out as hot as they have. Obviously tough loss last week in overtime, but now they're back at home. They're getting stuff done. I think that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be heavily involved in this with David Montgomery a little banged up. But Bijan Robinson, you're talking about a guy right now, despite having to split carries, he's second in the league in rushing. We're only behind Christian McCaffrey. So Arthur Smith obviously doing something right.
Yeah, minus the passing, they're currently ranked 28th in passing, 163 yards.
Well, I said he was doing something right, not everything.
Not everything.
Obviously,
That's true.
Desmond Ritter's not making his job as easy as Jared Goff is making Dan Campbell. Is that why you trust Detroit a little bit more going into this week?
That is why I'm going Detroit. I think that also it's at home. The Lions lost last week in OT. It was brutal for the fans for their first home game after the huge high of the win that was Kansas City.
Yep.
Everyone's coming out in the blue ski masks and they lose. And also injury news. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson out for the season with a torn pec, so they just suffered an injury.
After he got everybody wearing the masks.
And that was big off-season signing and free agency. Amon-Ra also dealing with a lingering injury, has not practiced so far this week, so just some things to monitor. I'm still going with Detroit in this one. I loved what we've been seeing out of Jared Goff and who he's been passing to when it's not Amon-Ra.
Yeah,
and we've seen David Montgomery should be out a few weeks.
But Josh Reynolds in there this week.
I like that again. He had 2 touchdowns last week.
Yeah, maybe a little Josh Reynolds touchdown score.
Anytime touchdown might not be bad, but I like Detroit in this one. I think the defense steps up.
I like that. I got to say, it was our first real opposition today. A lot of lopsided games, obviously, in our blowout window, and I got to say, Atlanta this year, they surprised me. I think every week there's going to be an interesting kind of game plan with Arthur Smith. On the road, I love Detroit this year, I got to say. But I'm going to take the Falcons this week as a little upset.
All right, I like it. Let's keep this moving along. We have the New Orleans Saints making the way to Green Bay to take on the Packers. Green Bay is favored in this by -2, over-under here of 43. Last time these two teams met, the Saints won 38-3. That was 2021. Aaron Rodgers is still the quarterback of Green Bay.
Yeah, I'm loving what I'm seeing from Jordan Love, but obviously last week was a little bit of a roller coaster without Aaron Jones in there. 2 touchdowns week 1, no Aaron Jones week 2. Obviously, I kind of saw them struggle, but I will say I think that both of these teams have now made these quarterback transitions, and through the first 2 weeks, I'm really loving what they've been doing, and I got to say. But all the weapons have been stepping up. Romeo Doubs and Jaden Reed last week getting 2 touchdowns. And now you got Olave and Michael Thomas, Rashid Shaheed. I mean, this is going to be – the over-under is 43. I have no problem with that. This is going to be a fantastic game.
I definitely hit the over. I'm leaning with the Saints in this one. I think that their defense is solid. They've been keeping them in games. Their offense, while you're right, these wide receivers have been hitting and playing well.
Yeah.
It's not to like that. Like that next level that we all know that I feel like this offense can take it under. Like Derek Carr can throw the ball. He can throw the ball well. He can make the big throws, and he's pretty accurate with it.
Yeah.
Like I want to see them open up this offense even more. Like I want to see them really unleash all these weapons that they got. Like you just listed 3 solid wide receivers, and I feel like we just haven't seen. Like more. Like I don't know why we haven't seen them put up like 40 points yet. And that's
I think the crazy thing is both of these teams have that potential definitely to do that down the road. I'm gonna lean with you as well. The Saints, they look good. This will probably be their last week without Alvin Kamara, so obviously they're gonna need him back. Jamal Williams hurt, a couple guys in there, but the Saints looked really good on the road last week. So. And even their defense, they made Bryce Young incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, moving this right along, we have an AFC East matchup with the New England Patriots making their way to New York to take on the Jets. New England is favored in this by -2.5, over-under here of 37. So the first meeting this season of these two teams, obviously we were expecting it to be Aaron Rodgers. I'm going with New England right off the bat. My issue is the same issue I've had with the Jets last year with Zach Wilson. Playoff defense, puts them in all the right positions. Zach Wilson just can't get the ball going at any point. And yes, he had the monster touchdown last week. That was all just Garrett Wilson just running.
Yeah.
Just running a route
that's
way better than Stephon Gilmore could ever cover.
That was like saying, oh my God, Kenny Pickett was so good on that George Pickens touchdown.
Yeah,
it's like, no, he ran literally
all
65 on the 71 yards.
So it's like
I agree.
This offense just isn't there for me. And
the Patriots have not lost to the Jets since 2015. And remember, it was week 2 of 2015 that the Jets got a win. So since the start of the 2016 season, there has not been a Jets win. Belichick's got their number. He's definitely not happy about losing to Miami in prime time. To Bill Belichick, that's divisional losses. He does not like that. I think that this will be one of the more meh games of the weekend.
Oh, absolutely.
One of the more meh games.
Still in our meh games category, we have the Carolina Panthers making their way to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. Seahawks are favored this by -5.5, over-under here of 42. Carolina, not great. Not the start that they were hoping for.
Not great.
I'm going with Seattle after that huge overtime win last week in Detroit. They get their home crowd now after that win, and they get a rookie quarterback.
I like that. Yeah, Seattle, their defense is looking good. Their secondary, no secondary, nothing more that a secondary loves than a rookie quarterback. Like you said, someone who can easily make mistakes. I liked how they were able to make the drive at the end of the game. I mean, that was something I'd like to see. But, Frank Reich, he seems that he doesn't really know when he's using Miles Sanders, Chuba Hubbard. I see that. Jonathan Mingo's getting involved. There's a couple guys getting involved, but like even last week, Hayden Hurst was a safety blanket week 1. He wasn't really targeted that much in week 2 by Bryce Young. Adam Thielen looks fine. But the Seahawks, I mean, we've been talking about how overpowered their offense is, and they showed up against the Lions, who are an offensive powerhouse. And Seattle at home, one of the most dangerous places to play in the NFL.
Yeah, definitely not going to be. Well, good first experience for Bryce Young with like this kind of loudness, but definitely not the environment. Like definitely not the place you want to play.
Not when you're dead last in scoring, tied with Las Vegas and Cincinnati right now.
Cincinnati, you guys heard it. All right, moving this along.
We'll get to use Cincinnati in a little bit.
Yeah, because first we got to get to this Vegas game. So we have the Pittsburgh Steelers making their way to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. Las Vegas favored this by -1.5. Over under here 43. This is our Sunday Night Football matchup. And it's not great. Devontae
Congratulations,
Adams.
schedule makers. You did it again.
You messed up. You didn't script it correctly. Devontae Adams might be out for this one. Also in the concussion protocol. A lot of people ended up in the concussion protocol last week. So there's a possibility he doesn't play at this potential moment. We don't know. Yeah. Over under of -2 yards for Josh Jacobs in this one.
Oh my God!
What are your thoughts?
I'll just take even money. Like I don't know anymore with it. I mean, I'll just take I'll take the 1 yard, because it seems that that's all that Josh McDaniels is willing to give him. Or, Josh Jacobs fantasy owners like myself, people who have, dedicated, I'm not getting into that. My joke outside of that is that, when you're looking at the volume that this team is getting, I don't think they're putting it in the right spots. Devontae Adams had an amazing first quarter last week. He was able to score. They didn't really get to show out, the rest of the game and show out the rest of the weapons after they kind of built that first couple of drives around him. Steelers defense, though, is not, Jimmy Garoppolo has not gotten sacked yet, and he's going up against T.J. Watt, who was everywhere last week.
Everywhere. Scoring touchdowns, breaking records. That's the TJ Watt way.
Yeah, shout out all-time Steelers sack leader. He did it in half the games of James Harrison, by the way.
Literally half. 85 games, and I think it was James Harrison's 165, something like that.
It's just so insane. Fast. And then I go to look back, TJ Watt, 37 sacks, we forget, over 2 seasons just recently. Only played for 6 years. He's still a young guy. Las Vegas is a big stage, so, look for these guys to show out. Minkah Fitzpatrick, how's he doing?
He's released from the hospital following a chest injury. The expectation currently in the Steelers camp is that he's going to be in there for the game. Obviously, he'll probably be leaning towards a game time decision, so keep that in mind. All this being said, I am going with the Steelers. The Raiders...
Oh yeah!
If it's not Devontae Adams catching the ball, it just hasn't been great. There was some hope, I think, with Jimmy G going to this team because of his familiarity with Josh McDaniels and the offense. Mm-hmm. And so far it hasn't panned out, and it was just atrocious in Buffalo last week. This defense isn't quite there yet either. This is a chance. Look, Kenny Pickett, really bad week 1.
Yeah. Improvement
in week 2. Now you get an easy opponent, an easy defense. It's third game, take that. Let's take another step. It's only year 2, so don't panic anyone. Quarterbacks often go down their sophomore season.
Yeah.
It's very unusual that we get these Mahomes and Burrows as of late. So just bear that in mind, that historically down seasons on year 2 for quarterbacks. But easy opponent this week, we expect more because they have too good of a defense, similar to the Jets, to just be losing games.
Yeah, I like Steelers straight up this week. It's another underdog. It seems like a lot of these games are going to be close this weekend.
Absolutely.
That, I'm 50-50 on, but it's these close spreads. I mean, the underdogs this weekend, this is something to just watch these trends as you go this week for sure.
Yeah, 100%. All right. We're getting into our game of the week, all right? And it's a great one because the Los Angeles Chargers making their way to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. This is a weird one. Depending on where you're looking, Minnesota is going to be favored by 1. If you're looking other places, Los Angeles is going to be favored by 1. The general consensus, though, on an over-under here seems to be hovering around a 54. So I will hit the over on that one this week because we have two really high scoring offenses.
I love it.
We just saw both of them put up 28 plus points between them. If my math is correct, 28 plus 28 is indeed 56, which is over the spread of 54. And both defenses are not good at stopping the pass.
It's
and
very
both
true.
These offenses are very good at throwing the ball. So
You are making way too much sense.
there's a lot of reasons why this is going to be a really fun offensive game.
Yeah, I love it. It's Sean's favorite team and his favorite team to talk about in the AFC.
It is.
We were talking about it. We always look at the lines before. Like Sean said, every book has this at maximum 1.5 in a different direction, and we've been talking about it all week. These close lines, but I will say the Vikings are in their own building, and they got to get this one done. And I know we always say that the Vikings get everything messed up, and they always blow fourth quarter leads, and they always make Sean
But so do the
But
Chargers.
so do the Chargers, man.
There's a chance. Look, if we go 0-3, it's statistically, it's like you were talking about this before. You have like a 51% chance when you're 0-2.
And then
If you fall to 0-3, you go below 3%.
like around 11. But
11.
11 is not good.
That's bad. And so neither one of these teams wants to do it. So for both these teams, they have a lot on the line here. It's their playoffs on the line right now. Vikings did cite Dalton Risneer, which is huge for their interior offensive line, which has not been playing great. We've been seeing the fumbles and mishaps on the snaps with them, which has led to a lot of costly offensive turnovers.
Yeah.
So I'm going Minnesota. I think the keys to this game, obviously, I just mentioned it. You're not turning the ball over. We had we had 6 turnovers in the opening 2 first halves of the games that we've played this year. So against Tampa Bay, we had 4, and against the Eagles, we had 2. Can't be turning the ball over early on.
That
in the
Eagles
game.
it seemed like there were 10 turnovers by both teams
I know,
in the first
that
5
was an
minutes.
ugly matchup. I'm sorry.
But I got to say, you guys, like you said, you have to defend the home court. You have so much on the line when it comes down to it. The Chargers, though, they are a better team than we expect. I will say, obviously, they expected going into the season with Austin Eckler being fully healthy. They're trying to rest him, make sure he's fully healthy. I saw that he wasn't practicing today, which could be a good sign for the Vikings. But, Joshua Kelly's been stepping up. At the end of the day, Brandon Staley, the Chargers head coach, really wants to run the ball. And I love what, Keenan Allen's been doing in the offense this year. He's going to be kind of like, as long as he's going, this team's going to stay on top of you guys. But, Kirk, 4 touchdowns last week. It's like he is actually playing to a level that you have to say, whoa. He's good.
There's a fun, all these great fun stats come out in the opening 4 weeks of the NFL where people are just setting unreal records. And the current pace of Kirk Cousins is 17,000 yards, 51 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. Also going 0-17, though. So let's see what happens.
I think the thing is, too, is, he has Jefferson. I think this week is the week that you get the Jefferson touchdown.
Get in the end zone.
That's like what we're looking at these touchdowns because it's just instinct, and you're saying to yourself, if you don't get them now, how do you win this game? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think they got to score, and they got to score early. Look, this is the Vikings game to lose. Daniil Hunter currently leading the NFL in sacks along with TJ Watt. So that's fun.
Does he and Joey Bosa, one of the other highest paid in the NFL, get a sack this week?
100%. Both offensive lines aren't great also. So there's a lot of fun reasons why this is going to be an ugly defensive game, fun offensive game, guys. So
54, definitely the highest, like Sean said. Definitely take it because it's going to be a freaking shootout. And like you said, these defenses, it's going to be about, weirdly, we're talking about which one of these defenses are going to step up.
Yeah.
But I love this as our game of the week. This is definitely one you got to watch. And, outside all these blowouts and lopsided games, this is definitely going to be the one you have your eyes glued most to.
I love it.
You, Shanzi.
I love it. Let's see if the Vikings get a win for me. That's all the time that we have, everyone. Thank you for listening, and thank you for tuning in.
Thank you guys for checking us out always, and enjoy these Sunday games. JustSayingFootball.com, Just Saying Football on YouTube and Spotify. Get us in your ears. Subscribe on there. Always make sure to check us out on Instagram as well. Just Saying No GWJS.
Enjoy.